archaeologist, and yeah, usually I spend a lot of time talking about wartime concrete, much to the annoyance of my colleagues. I've just started doing it on purpose now to really annoy them. So yeah, we've been doing a fair bit of work on the coast, looking at things like this, which is the First World War pillbox, with our long-time volunteer John. But today I'm going to talk about something completely different, something that's very close to my heart, which is horribly, really bad for you food. It's a very big part of Team North's existence and how we sustain ourselves when we're out and about. But on a serious note, so I'll be taking a look at intangible heritage and how this relates to the low tide trails that I've developed up in the north. And you know, intangible heritage, generally the non-physical aspects of heritage that are developed within communities, such as social practices and oral traditions and things like that. So the low tide trails that I've developed highlight some fascinating archaeology in the coastal and intertidal zone, but also as well local history, which is you know, extremely important to get the context of a lot of these sites as well. So what I find important was to highlight how the coastal and intertidal zone has shaped and influenced local cultural identity, again, which is really, really important. And a key aspect of local identity and culture, both in Hull and Liverpool, where I've focused my low tide trails in the first year, is food. Both cities have their own delicacies that developed as a direct result of their connection to the sea, coastal trade and maritime industry. This is really cool. So on the left hand side we have the Hull patty from Hull, and on the right hand side we have scouse, which is associated with Liverpool. Scouse has recently been renamed by TV's Oliver Hutchinson as slurry. So you know.
So you have eyes, you can see.
The next call is going to be really interesting because you're going to Liverpool, so yeah. Anyway, and in the centre we have a very happy Dr. Sam Griffiths just after he's eaten a molten hot patty as well. He was really happy with that. It's a decent video we've got, which we'll put online eventually. So local people often connect with their intangible heritage, in particular food and local customs. So I found it really, really important to understand and incorporate these aspects into the low tide trails, and this has kind of been a key part of their development, or the development I've done in the first year of the project. So although the focus of the low tide trails is on physical archaeology and historical buildings, I thought it important to mention how local delicacies such as these developed in connection with local maritime industry. And what's even more fascinating is the fact that we can actually tie the development of these local food types into some of the physical and outstanding archaeological remains we have. And most importantly, there's also the chance to discover these meals as well when you're on the low tide trail, so you can burn off those calories and then put them all back on in one fell swoop. Right, so starting off with Hull. Hull's an amazing place. I'm really quite taken with Hull. So it's got an interesting and intriguing, and that's the important word, and wide history connected with coastal trade and maritime industry, in particular fishing. So here we've got on the left hand side the Arctic Corsair, which has recently been moved for refurbishment. This is a kind of tangible link to the area's fishing heritage, and it's the last surviving sidewinding trawler in existence that was built in Hull. Yeah, but this is very much still part of a very important part of Hull's history and local identity. You know, people still reminisce about this. The River Hull, which we see here, was central to the development of the city itself. Many historic buildings, as you saw with Sam's talk, many historic buildings are focused around this area in terms of coastal industry and coastal trade. So by the 1700s, Hull had developed into a major fishing and whaling port. And much of the fishing fleet was located within this river, which was eventually the reason for the docks being developed, because the fishing fleet clogged up this river and it hampered trade, so they built a special dock. But that's something that you can find out about in the low tide trail. With this rapid expansion of Hull came rapid growth in local populations. So with many families, seamen, labourers, industrial workers setting up home around the River Hull because it was, you know, pretty much on the doorstep of where they worked. What's worth noting as well is that the number of families per household in this very small area was significantly higher than anywhere else in the city. What we saw during the early 1800s, during the Napoleonic Wars, was a massive decline in the working class living standards in the area, and poverty as a result skyrocketed throughout the 19th century. And it's noted as well that by 1884 there was about 1,000 families in Hull who were actually actively starving. So this is where the kind of Hull patty ties in. So the Hull patty was developed in the 1800s as a cheap alternative to fish cakes, which are a patty with fish inside it, pretty much. Yeah, hilarious. Most importantly, this was an affordable way to feed starving families within Hull, who simply could not actually afford to buy the fish, which is really, really ironic given the amount of fish that was coming in. A lot of the people working within the fishing industry could not actually afford what they were sourcing. The patty itself, Bob Carver's the best patty shop in Hull. Yeah, agreement, Sam?
Yeah,
cool. That's it. So the patty itself consists of mashed potato, which is seasoned with salt, sage, and sometimes onion. It's beautiful. But often boiling hot, it'll easily burn through your face.
So I can attest to that.
Yeah, that's the video of Sam eating one. So as I mentioned, the connection with the physical archaeology being that many families living and working in this area and working within the fishing industry were not actually able to afford the fish that was being brought in. So although Hull as a city prospered through increased maritime trade and fishing, many local people didn't actually see the benefit or wouldn't have seen the benefit of this booming trade. Although the fishing industry of Hull is largely gone, though poverty is an ever-increasing problem which is exacerbated by current austerity, members of the fishing industry and docks are still strong, and the Hull patty lives on as a key part of Hullensians, or Hullites as we like to call them, identity. Right, quick look at Liverpool and Scouse. Liverpool, as I'm sure many of you know, has a very, very strong local identity. And much of this can be traced to the city's docks and maritime heritage. So the hearty stew, scouse, is key to this identity, or if you want to call it slurry, feel free, but yeah. So scouse was brought to Liverpool by the strong international connections that grew out of the port during the 18th and 19th centuries. And you can essentially trace the introduction of scouse to Liverpool through the city's docks. So scouse, or labscouser, or lobscouse, is a hearty meal of Norwegian, German, Swedish or Danish origin. It's essentially beef stew. Yeah, we've got no idea where it comes from. It's essentially a beef or mutton stew which is served with pickled beetroot or red cabbage and white bread, and this was traditionally made by sailors operating in the North Sea and sailing into Liverpool to keep the crews fed and also, most importantly, keep them warm during the winter. As a result of the developing docks, many of these crews berthed in Liverpool, and they did the amazing thing of introducing the local populace to the delights of scouse. And the docks where these crews introduced people to Scouse is now a World Heritage Site and very central to the low tide trail, which we run fairly often in Liverpool itself. Right, it's pretty much illegal to talk about Liverpool without mentioning the Beatles. It's not. Yeah, you don't talk about Liverpool, not the Beatles. Right, so music again is another form of intangible heritage, which is extremely important to Liverpool for obvious reasons. And this is a really cool little discovery that I made when putting together the low tide trail for this area. So down the right hand side, we've got this statue of the Beatles, which sits on Liverpool's historic dock front, just in front of the Cunard building. And this is often mobbed by tourists and fans alike. Which is why I had to take the photograph at night, because I didn't get anywhere near it. So on a nearby roundabout you'll find this mast from the SS Salva, which was a salvage vessel which operated the Mersey from what was launched in 1946 and operated into the 1970s. And although people focus on this statue, the SS Salva mast actually has a tangible connection with the Beatles. That being that they really early on in their career, they did a rather glamorous photo shoot on the SS Salva. So instead of going to that statue, they should really be having your photographs taken in front of this mast in the middle of a roundabout in the centre of Liverpool. Anyway, you'll have to come to Liverpool and Hull and find out more about the low tide trails and enjoy both the Scouse and the patty. Ooh, combine the two. Anyway, yeah, that's Team Northern. If you want to contact us, you can get in touch with us via the website or through social media. Yeah, that's me done.